Hello and welcome to this clip looking at the synthesis of a haloalkane from an alcohol, and we're going to be using an organic practical techniques leveled question to explore it. So quite a lot of stuff here to process, so let's think about how you might do that before we try to construct an answer. So what I'd always recommend is on a leveled response question, you look for where you've got the little star. That's where the instructions begin. So your first instruction is to draw a labeled diagram to show how you'd safely set up the apparatus, and your second instruction is to outline a method for purification. So bearing that in mind, there's two parts to your answer. So let's have a look at the information it gives us about the preparation stage. The student boils the mixture for 1 hour, so that allows us to think about whether it's reflux or distillation. The student also obtains a reaction mixture containing organic layer and an aqueous layer, and they have differing densities. So the one that has higher density is going to sink, and the one that has lower density is going to float. So coming back to the boiling the mixture for 1 hour, that would suggest refluxing rather than distillation. Different densities would suggest using a separating funnel. And the fact that water is a side product must mean a drying agent might be a good idea. So now we've done a little bit of rudimentary thinking about what we've got in front of us, let's start constructing an answer. So starting with the labeled diagram, you want to make sure that the safety aspect of it has been taken into account, because it says safely set up the apparatus. So you need anti-bumping granules. You need an open top, so the pressure buildup doesn't cause the condenser to break. And obviously, you need to also include the reaction mixture, because if you don't put a little line showing there's some liquid in your flask, it'll look like you haven't put liquid in or not planning to put liquid in. So even though it might seem obvious, show the liquid by having a little line to show the surface. So this line here, in other words, is the surface of the liquid. Then you obviously need to label the condenser, label the round bottom flask, and then you can start your purification. So starting with decanting the cooled reaction mixture into a separating funnel. Notice I've said cooled, so you need to think about safety as well. The reaction mixture is going to contain this, which is your 1-bromobutane. It might also contain some unreacted sulfuric acid, so there's already two chemicals that are potentially dangerous. So you want to let the reaction mixture cool down before you transfer it anywhere. So it goes into a separating funnel. You can add an equal volume of saturated sodium chloride to remove some of the water, invert it several times to mix, releasing the stopper in between to release pressure. Then you add some sodium carbonate to neutralize the excess acid. So that'll cause some carbon dioxide to be given off, which you can see as fizzing. Once the fizzing stops, that means that the acid has been neutralized. The lower layer is more dense, 1.27 grams per centimeter cubed, as opposed to 1 gram per centimeter cubed. Into a conical flask it goes, and then you add anhydrous calcium carbonate as a drying agent. You could also add magnesium sulfate. Any group 2 sulfate or chloride would do. But it must be anhydrous. If it's not anhydrous, it won't work as a drying agent. You swirl until the drying agent disperses, and then finally you can redistill the mixture, collecting the distillate at 102 degrees C. So let's now look at an alternative approach. This was an answer given by a student when this was actually a live paper, and they went for the distillation instead of refluxing. So although this has some merits, you'll get a good pure product. The difficulty is that the product has a very similar boiling point to water, so it's quite difficult to do this in reality. The other thing to remember is that the instructions said that you need to boil the mixture for 1 hour. If you distill for 1 hour, what's going to happen is all of the liquid is going to eventually boil off in stages and then end up still mixed together in the collection vessel. And that would circumvent the whole idea of distillation being a separating technique. Okay, so hopefully this has taken you through some approaches to this question that might work. It's not the only answer or the only way of getting 6 marks. As always, there's several ways to get 6 marks in a leveled response question, but hopefully the key idea is to consider we've been able to share with you. Okay, thanks for listening. Until next time, see you soon.